Awesome. Slides are working this time. Uh, yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for patiently waiting and listening. We are running 10 minutes ahead of the time, so everything is good. Post that, there'll be one more lightning talk, and then post that a panel, and then we can break out for lunch. But yeah, right now, introducing myself, I'm Ayush Ranjan. I'm one of the co-founder and CEO of Huddle01. At Huddle01, what we are building is an open and decentralized real-time communication platform and infrastructure. We have been building Huddle01 since September of 2020. So Huddle started off in ETH Global Hackfest, which was done by ETH Global as Ethereum as well as File Protocol Labs, and that's where we took birth. So talking about what we are doing at Huddle01 is that we have been building a proper open and decentralized real-time communication infrastructure, which is having a three-pronged approach. The first is an app, which is exactly like Zoom. That means you can do all the things you can do on Google Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, but in a Web3 native fashion. And that means instead of using your Web2 authentication like Google OAuth, you can use something like your MetaMask login, or you can log in via your other wallets just to be a part of it. Post that, you can use your NFT as your avatars. That means if you want to switch off your video, now your calls can become much more engaging in nature. How can it become more engaging is that you don't, if you switch off a video, if you have NFTs in your wallet, you can use that as your avatars. So the problems which we are solving are three in nature. The first is privacy and security. That means the current state of how the real-time architecture looks like is not end-to-end encrypted. That means the calls are transcript encrypted, but not content encrypted. That means your calls could be still seen by the servers itself. So if you're doing an audio and video call, it could still be seen by the servers. The second problem is performance issues. That means there could be computational burnout, jitter, buffer, and latency. This happened a lot during the time of COVID, when in 2020, when we were all shut down in our homes, a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 cities in India, I think one also talked about it, who had limited internet connection, they were not able to essentially have a good experience because they had to use platforms, the other Web2 video meeting platforms, in tandem with WhatsApp because they had less bandwidth in itself. And the third is a top-down economy. That means the maximum value, everything, is either captured by the cloud providers or by the platform itself. Presenting Huddle01. We have a three-pronged approach here. The app, which is a sufficiently decentralized platform. The SDK, which is a plug-and-play for devs, where they can use our SDKs to build any kind of real-time communication apps. And the third is the end game of Huddle01, which is the protocol layer. That means if I, Greg, Juan, and Sushmit are on call, and if Greg has a good internet connection, Greg can become a node, and he can power the call of all of us. So essentially, rather than using a centralized server, now Greg, who is in a geolocation much more nearer to me, can become a node, and then instead of all my data routing through a central server, if I'm in Bangalore to North Virginia, it's routing through a server in India itself, where Greg becomes a node, and he's the one who's powering it all. So this is how the platform looks like. Now this call which you see is Messari. They are our biggest clients. So Messari has completely shifted away from the centralized live streaming as well as conferencing solutions to Huddle01 itself. Now, as you can see here, it's a proper live stream happening. That means all the calls which are happening, they're doing a proper video conferencing, but they're also doing an RTMP out. That means they're live streaming this call onto YouTube, Twitch, as well as other places as well. And as you can see here, a lot of people have their names as an ENS. That means they want to, instead of using their actual names, they're using ENS to have a good experience there. Apart from that, if you want to store all this data, that means if you want to store the recordings, if you want to store, you can store onto two places. The first is IPFS on the hot layer, and the second is FILBangalore on the cold layer. So instead of storing all these things onto S3 or Glacier, you're storing that over IPFS and FILBangalore itself. On the FILBangalore, if you want to store data for a longer time, it's better. So this is good for all the educational-based startups or companies in the Web2 world as well, where essentially you need to store all these things. You need to store everything compounding year over year, which takes a lot of data. And that's where we use FILBangalore to store everything so that people can retrieve it when they want to retrieve it, but all these intellectual property is really, really important. So this is the traction on the app. These are the what are friends of Huddle01, where Messari is our biggest client, followed by Filecoin, Orbits, LivePeer, Reef, MetaPass, Unstoppable Domains, ENS, and a lot more now. So we started off with a beta in Q4 of 2021, did 15,000 minutes of meeting. We moved forward in Q1 of 2022 to 128,000 minutes of meeting in total. We moved again to 200,000 of meetings, and then post that did 250,000 minutes in the last quarter. So in total, we have done 1 million minutes of meeting, which has been resulting in a very good experience for us to build products which are much more matured, and people can easily switch from the current solutions which they have. So this is our team. Now the team has become more than 25 people. It's been strong now since we have been building for 2 years now. So starting off with 2 people, I and Sushmit. Now the team is 26. And the team comprises of people from, where we come from a lot of growth-based functions, sales-based functions to blockchain-based functions. So Sushmit came from CoinDCX, built his first decentralized exchange there. I came from Zepho, as well as TaskBob, did a lot of growth work, and then a couple of teammates from Salesforce, Gitcoin, and other places as well. So the services which we have, there are 3 kinds of services right now, how we can use Huddle01. The app, as I mentioned. The second is an API and iframes. And the third is the SDKs itself. The APIs and iframes which you're seeing here, those are that if you want to use our APIs and build any kind of audio and video things. So this you can see here is a metaverse-based play who uses right now. That means they want to set up their office hours. So they can use our SDK or our APIs, where people can roam around the room. They want to go to a workshop, they can do that. They want to go to a place, they can do that. So a gather.town kind of an experience, but in a Web3 native fashion. Now in terms of SDKs, why are SDKs? So 3 major things. The first, it's highly composable in nature. The second, it's much faster in terms of integration. And the third is it's really cheap as compared to the centralized SDKs which are out there. So you have things like you can bring your own wallet. That means instead of using authentication of Google OAuth, you can bring your own wallet. You have your own identity management solutions. You can do token-gated systems, your own analytics, and you can use the storage services like Filecoin to have a much cheaper overall collusive cost, and you can do live streaming via LivePeer itself. Now, in terms of emerging use cases, we have seen a ton of use cases where Web3 social has also become a key part of it, and that's why we focus on this Venn diagram where we talk about that from things like Farcaster to Lenster to Lens. They are creating a proper infrastructure in terms of a proper protocol for Web3 social itself. Now, any kind of Web3 social experience requires an audio and video. That means how do we communicate with each other, which is also encrypted in nature. And that's where we come in, and we become a center of any kind of real-time back and forth which happens. Now, in terms of the market, it's huge. The real-time communication market is extremely, extremely big. It's right now around $120 billion market, in which during the COVID time, it spiked like anything, and we started seeing that, hey, this market will keep on increasing in different kind of scenarios. The future won't be that we just be having an audio and video doing just on a 2D screen, the way we do right now, but in a much, much more interesting, expressive fashion with things like Oculus AR, VR, and Oculus AR, as well as these other gears which are coming up, where it requires a much more stronger audio and video experience, and that's where you need to move away your architecture from the current centralized format to where your nodes are nearer to the geography area so that you can have a better experience. Now, this market started off in 2000 itself with a protocol called as WebRTC, which is Web Real-Time Communication Protocol, where Google was one of the ones who supported it, built it, and it was then continued by a lot of open source people. So the market size has been huge, but these are all top-down economies, as you can see here. But there are few people coming from the bottom-up economy, which includes Skeet, Huddle01, Matrix. So we are one of the ones who have pioneered the how do you make not a peer-to-peer, but a kind of a node-to-node architecture where the value is not captured just by the providers, or the values are not captured just by the platforms itself. So yeah, I think that's about it. If you want to know more about Huddle01, please visit our website. We have our SDKs, we have our workshops happening. So we have 2 workshops happening, both on the level of how to build on SDKs, and also what are things like Divergent, which is more on the lines of how you can build these interesting based applications using our essential things. So that's about it. Thank you so much for listening, and yeah, have a good day. Bye.